Transformations. This is a fun digital lesson on reflection, translation, dilation, and rotation around the origin. So it starts with the definition of what transformation means, and then the four definitions. So students might want to reflect back to slide 3 to get these definitions of each one. So they're going to start with reflection on slide 4. They're going to use the fill color feature of Google Slides, and they're going to reflect this figure across the y-axis. So they want it to be equal distance from the y-axis, but a mirror image. So to do that, they just click and hold in one of the squares that they want to color in. So while they're holding, they can highlight the squares they want to color in. Then they come up here to the fill color feature and they can choose any color they like. And they can only highlight a rectangle at a time. And now they have a reflection across the y-axis. On the next reflection, they're going to reflect across the x-axis. Same thing, but this time the T is going to be upside down because we're reflecting across. It's a mirror image. And again, choose any color they like. Here they've reflected across the x-axis. Now they're going to use this same shape to reflect across the y-axis. They're going to reflect across a line, the line x equals 1, which is already highlighted. And then we're going to reflect across this line, y equals -1. Just means it's a equal distance from the line on the opposite side. Then they're shown what to do if they're reflecting and part of their figure is already across that line. So if you see these 2 points, they work like a hinge, and it's just going to move this figure up using this as a hinge. So you can see what that figure is going to look like if it's reflected across that x-axis. Then they're going to try one on their own. So they're going to take this figure and they're going to reflect it across the y-axis. Then we move on to translation. So translation is just moving a figure up, down, left, or right without changing its orientation. So to translate this figure, you're going to move it 6 units to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And again, choosing any color they like. Then they're going to translate this figure 4 units to the left and 2 units down. And again on this one, and one more. Then we move on to rotation. So the rotation is around the origin. We're going to be moving 90 degrees counterclockwise on this one, which means the new figure is going to be in quadrant 3. So they can move these lines and these points to show this rotation. So they're going to use this formula. This is for counterclockwise 90 degrees, -yx. So they're just going to take each one of these points and change it so that it is -yx. So this one, -1, 2, will now be -2, -1. This point, -3, 2, will now be -2, -3. And then the final point, -1, 4, will now be -4, -1. And then they can use these lines here to fill in their figure. If you have some more advanced students and they need a little bit more of a challenge, you could change the size and the orientation of these lines so the students have to figure out where the lines go. They're going to do the same thing on the next slide. Now they're going to move this figure 90 degrees clockwise, which would put it in quadrant 3. And they're going to be using the formula this time of y -x. So they take each one of the coordinates of each of these points and change it to y negative x. The next one, they're going to be moving it 180 degrees, which would put it in the opposite quadrant, quadrant 4, using the formula negative x, negative y. And then they're going to be showing 3 more rotations using all of these different colors. So they're going to be using the formula y negative x for 90 degrees clockwise. They're going to be using negative yx, and then the 180 degree would be at negative x, negative y. So they're going to move all 3 of these. They'll end up with a triangle in each one of the quadrants. Now, dilation is when you change a figure by a scale factor. So it will be the same shape, just a different size. So this one, they're going to dilate this figure by a scale factor of 2. What that means is they're going to take each one of these coordinates and multiply it by 2. So the point 1, 1 will now be 2, 2. And they just click and hold on these and they can move them into place. And then they can connect them using the lines. Next one, they're going to dilate this figure by a scale factor of 3. So each one of these points, we're going to multiply the coordinates by 3. So 0, 1 will now be 0, 3. And 1, negative 1 will be 3, negative 3. And so on. Now this one, they're dilating by a scale factor that's less than 1. So it's a scale factor of 1/2, means you're going to take each one of the coordinates and you're going to divide by 2. So that 4, 4 will now be 2, 2, and so on. Okay, the final transformation, they're going to do 2 transformations on one figure. So they're going to move this one, translate it 5 units to the left, and then reflect it over the x-axis. Now, all the completed slides are on a separate file for the teacher, so you can check all of these. On last slide 23, students are going to be just moving these terms into the correct place in the sentence frames. Just a review of each one of these transformations. So that is Transformations Digital Lesson.